So I've been thinking of swords and shields, of laws and regulations, of artificial intelligence, guardrails and alignment, model cards, system cards, data sheets for data sets, and of dungeons and dragons and castles. Most of all, how avoiding what we are scared of will hurt us, hurts all of us. Our boundaries, our shields, can be our prison. Consider Lord Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a wheel of the chariot of the sun that was used by Arjuna to slay in revenge for the death of his son. Shields can be weapons. How often have we seen laws and regulations and codes used to hurt, not help, the community, the collective? Copyright and trademarks to block generative creativity, intellectual innovation, the forward progress of humanity, locked up with lawyers and courts. The shields within emergent technology are often limited, as they must be. We cannot know the impact on the collective until the technology has fully emerged. Still, artificial intelligence has nutrition cards, just like buying cereal, Tim Tams at the supermarket. You can read the calories and the carbs and the sugar within, although I recommend that you don't. You may have to eat half a pack of Tim Tams just to get over the shock. Nutrition cards are there as a protection, as a shield for the community to know the allergies and the ingredients that may harm, hurt, or help. At no point does the manufacturer of the food say, "No, that's proprietary information. We can't tell you what's inside." Or, "We don't know, it's a secret recipe," although they're happy to do that in their marketing. We have data sheets in other areas. Pharmaceuticals. We know exactly what's inside the pack of amoxicillin antibiotics. It's not only on the box, but there's a sheet inside that will give you the contraindicatory implications of taking the drug. Electronics. What's inside the box? Did you know that AI has this? There are system cards. System cards for the hardware, latency, also the integrations into billing systems, finance systems, CRMs. Model cards tell you the architecture of the model, the provenance, and what its approved use is for. If it's a health model, perhaps it's approved for the GP, the specialist, the hospital, but not your bank, nor your employer. Data sheets for data sets are the shields that protect our privacy and more. Each data point is listed, or it has census information, credit information, health. The data sheets are signed off to say that the information is approved. It's not from a hack somewhere. It's not like buying a fake newsletter, email newsletter list. It's approved. And as regulations, those shields that protect our society catch up, model cards, system cards, and data sheets will be included on the box with AI. And any vendor that says no, it's proprietary information, we just look at them and say, if it's good enough for pharmaceutical companies, for electronics, and for cereal and Tim Tams, it's good enough for you, mate. Others will say, we don't know what's inside the AI, in which case they're exposing their clients to repercussions, to crisis, and to some other major issues that we may not yet be fully conversant with. I'll come back to the model cards shortly, but I do want to mention the fact that shields are really there in a way to stop wars, to stop problems. If we have a sword in one hand, the divine masculine, and a shield in the other, the divine feminine, we have balance. Now, when I speak of Dharma, which I often do on this Alchemy of Innovation channel, I don't often speak about the Dharma chakra or the wheel of Dharma as a shield. I talk about our mission in life, our purpose, our raison d'etre, but I may have been remiss in mentioning that everything is towards assisting the other, our village, our community. We experience other souls as external to ourselves and seek to help them. Dharma, at its most potent, is being that drop in a wide, deep ocean that helps humanity evolve. I have never seen Dharma where it serves only the one that bears that Dharma. We unite ourselves with the collective self. But external shields are a foundation of social constructs. It's the old free will versus fate argument. We have free will to assault another, but then lose free will when we are incarcerated for undertaking the action. We are free to unite our actions with our tribe, but suffer consequences when we break those rules. To that end, every village creates regulations, compliance, guardrails and alignment, crime and punishment. While most regulations are to regulate an industry, i.e. protect the incumbents, keep others out, rather than protecting the humans using those tools and services, we understand the shields are there for a reason. So let's jaunt off to around 1130 Common Era and listen to Geoffrey of Monmouth's tale of King Arthur. Arthur placed on his head a golden helmet engraved with the image of a dragon and shouldered his shield called Pridwen, on which was depicted Mary, the Holy Mother of God. The Virgin Mary is there to keep her memory always before his eyes. He understood the shield is a representative of the divine feminine, and the divine masculine will protect the divine feminine. As always, gender neutral. He also buckled on Caliburnus, an excellent blade forged on the Isle of Avalon, and graced his hand with a spear called Ron, and of course Excalibur. Other shields have other images. Medusa, a priestess at a temple, was caught cavorting behind the altar of her temple with a young man. A bit of slap and tickle. How's your father? I have no idea what happened to him. Probably got a promotion. Medusa instead was cursed. Her hair turned to snakes, and those that looked upon her turned to stone. The Gorgon, Medusa's head, appeared on shields, most notably Aegis. Agamemnon, I think it was, bore Aegis. Aegis in the Iliad is a device carried by first Zeus, divine masculine, and then passed to Athena, one of my favourite goddesses. Often seen as a shield with a Gorgon Medusa on it, but sometimes as a cloak, sometimes as a breastplate, and other times as armour to protect. Shields protect. We now use the term aegis in capitalist feudal systems to be under the protection, under the sun-bearing chariot wheel of the CEO, of the corporate entity, of the king, of the leader. The understanding that the dharma of the leader is to provide protection to the community, to society. It's interesting to me that Elon Musk is suing OpenAI as a non-profit for not providing that protection. If King Arthur's sword Pridwen had the Virgin Mary on it, and Aegis, Medusa, then we must look to Achilles' shield as an example of ekphrasis, the first instance of ekphrasis, which is dramatic, bold description, and it is reserved for the shield. So the shield of Achilles, as described by Homer, has on it the earth, the sky and sea, the sun and moon, Pleiades, Hyades, Orion, and Ursa Major. There are 2 cities on the shield, 2 representing social constructs, social regulations, rules. One is a wedding, one is a law case, and the other city that doesn't have the regulations is a feuding army and an ambush and a battle. The field is being ploughed for the 3rd time, indicating the cycle of times and the need to obey those cycles. King's estate where the harvest is being reaped is similar, and the vineyard with the grape pickers and the children. The description goes on and on and on. Ekphrasis does not hold back. Now with Lord Vishnu's Sudarshan Chakra, the whirling disc, if you want to visualize it, the Dharma Chakra, the wheel of destiny, the wheel of karma, Dharma, looks very much like, in my mind, the OpenAI logo, the ChatGPT logo. In the Rig Veda, the Sudarshan Chakra, it is the wheel of time. And I think the concern that we have with emergent technology, with reality being transmogrified, transformed, alchemized by artificial intelligence, and the merging of the digital with the physical, do we have time? Back to the model cards and the data sheets and the system cards. If we place those nutrition labels on chain, in the blockchain, that just means in a digital vault, then they're verified and easily audited. If your employer tries to upload your health data, the AI will say, computer says no, that information was not released by the patient to be given to an employer or job interviewer or mortgage company. If you're unsure of what I'm talking about, the National Health Service in the United Kingdom was caught selling, not once, but twice, health data. And I don't mean anonymized health data, I mean first name, last name, phone number, address, all the symptoms, all the visits, all the drugs, everything. Twice. Once is an accident, twice is deliberate. And in spite of their fines, the NHS, the Department of Health, said they needed to in order to fund health systems. We desperately need to be given choice in the same way that we can when we look at the box of the antibiotics or when we look at the pack of the Tim Tams or cereal. We individually need to be given choice over where our data goes. And the only way to construct that is in the blockchain, on-chain, in a digital vault, where we sign our own data in and out. No other system makes sense. And if an employer chooses to upload a data sheet that's clearly not meant for them, they must bear the consequences and regulation. Our shields will come to bear. And that leads me to a story. And while you listen, I want you to consider, if you will, that implicit rules, implicit laws, have explicit consequences. AI currently is trying to navigate those. There is a castle. It's a fine castle. And inside is a prince, or king at least, perhaps even an emperor. But we don't see much of him in this story. This king is loved by his people, feted by courtiers, desired and yearned over. He rules with kindness and power, and to tell the truth, a smidgen of a temper. But in the main, his lands extend from the castle out, embracing villages and hamlets, smaller industry and larger ones, and he's loved. He's not seen often, never close up. But as a ruler, he is considered wise and beneficent. Our castle, imposing on its hill, is surrounded by a moat, a deep moat. Something lurky lurks there. Best not to look too closely, methinks. There is a drawbridge, always raised, never inviting boundaries. Throw in some barbed wire, a dozen guards, men and women in khakis with Kalashnikov AK-47-74s, whatever they are, plus some black jaguars and panthers and pumas, and well, you get the idea. This dude is serious about his privacy and keeping things out and keeping things in. The priestess travels from yonder every Wednesday. She heads down from the temple, where she teaches, to the markets, and on the way gazes briefly at the castle, but only briefly. A priestess wouldn't ever intrude uninvited to the private realms of the king, even etherically. Foolish women may attempt to cajole and woo a regal personage, stalk him on social media, loiter with intent near the drawbridge. But our priestess is focused on her duties and her mission and keeps moving. Until today. Today the drawbridge is down. The guards are gone. The big black cat's vamoosed. She stops, puts down her market bags, and with some trepidation takes a step or two onto the lower drawbridge. What on earth is she thinking? Well, to be honest, she probably isn't thinking at all. Our priestess struggles to control her curiosity and overindulgence in Nancy Drew mysteries when she was young. Well, here we are. She's already crossed over into the castle, and with a cursory "hello," has already slipped around the portcullis and is exploring the gatehouse, the foyer, where she has discovered sapphires and rubies and diamonds strewn on the rough-hewn tables. How odd. Of course, she would never steal from, oh look, chocolate. Munching on the rich, dark, gluttonous treat, the priestess heads down this dark staircase to the dungeons. Why the dungeons? Because it's always the dungeons, the deeper levels that hold the real treasure. Silly. Slowly, with only a torch made from the twisted fabric dipped into wax and lit. And with her iPhone, she moves slowly to the central room of the center of the underground cavern. There, in the middle, is a giant pile of treasure, vast in size, deliberate in structure, beautiful art and wizard grimoires, magical swords and ensorcelled shields, and more gems and gold than anyone has seen in their lifetime. And I think that's a Chanel handbag poking out there too. Still, she remains standing, unmoving, unaware of the growing scent of brimstone flowing in and around her, a sulphurous odour common to both dragons and protein drink imbibers. But she has spotted, on the floor, near the treasure, a simple item, unadorned, yet it has grabbed all of her attention, her focus. Her hand slowly extends, and at that moment an almighty roar rends the air, and the force of 1,000 gales sweeps into the cave. Gee, I wonder what was going to happen next. Anyway, as we come to the end of our journey through shields, model cards and system cards, and Dharma, protecting the community, regulations and codes, I would ask you to think upon the greater good and not the individual, but then to consider the individual within the greater good. Thank you for joining me with the alchemy of innovation. And remember, stay human.